What a fluke. Grand day, everybody. Grand day. Evening. Yeah, so I've been getting a lot of comments on the video I posted with the prisoners of Levitation. And some of you, I love the comments saying that some of you did this when you were kids and it's real, etc. I love that you're sharing real world happenings and the other side of what society made you out to, quote unquote, believe, right? And the real Wakanda fits into this whole topic. So I thought I'd touch on it just a little bit because we may have a live coming on, the prince himself, when he wants to tap in. Might get that set up. He just followed me too. So if you guys know who I'm talking about, prepare yourself. All right, so let's tap into that video first. And yeah, you see the prisoner is asking, like, all right, let's lift him up. Can't lift him. And if anybody wants to hop on live and share their experiences doing this as a kid, or maybe they have done this before, and now they're going in a second time. So I'm going to explain what's happening here. And it's actually pretty simple. It actually ties into what we talked on about week 2 of the scalar movement. Oof, look at that. Because he got lighter, right? So the first time they do it, they are reading your subliminal consciousness, which is your body, is reading his energy. And in ancient African tribes, some African tribes are taught to do this. Whenever they want to be creative, they imagine a light hovering above their head. And it's like a spiral motion, keyword spiral. So I want everyone to look at their hands, and you see the spirals in your hands, right? On your tips, on your fingertips. These are all coils. So if you're familiar with Reiki, etc., you know that energy comes out from the hand and can be also received in the hand. Left is for receiving, right is for projecting, right? And when you have both of them meshing together, hence why this is also powerful, prayer, etc., or this type of meditation when you have all fingers together. To me, this is also a mudra, the prayer mudra. That's used with many different religions, right? And some people that are too dogmatic about religion and may not even know the history or the origins from which they came may say that, oh, this is New Age, that's New Age, that's New Age. There's a lot of psychedelics that was taken in the Bible. A lot of psychedelics was taken in the Bible. So it's so funny how certain constructs, I'm not even going to be specific, but certain constructs have made people to believe that this one thing is more demonic than the other. You know, food itself is a drug. You do know that, right? You know that every time you eat or drink anything, it has some chemical reaction to your body. Hence, it's a drug. It's a drug. Right? Now, when you're doing it with the wrong intentions, now it could be gluttony, it could be so many other quote-unquote sins that's been talked in the Bible, etc. Right? So let me go over what happened again and give you step by step, and let's harmonize with this video. And yeah, if some of you have done this before, definitely share in the comment section. Because it's about to get really deep when we tap into Wakanda. All right. So, like I said in the beginning, when you're doing this activity, everyone is placing their hands, like here, reading the energy. Okay? And then let's see if we can really pick him up. So we don't see if we can pick him up, right? Can't pick him up. He's heavy as hell. So let's try it again. Second time. And also the energy of picking up the weight. That's also a key factor. Really put that in. So the energy of picking up the weight And now that energy is read by their body subconsciously and goes into the other subconscious act that's already happening in between your hands. And what's coming out between your hands? What's coming out of your hands? Spiral energy. Spiral energy is coming out of your hands. What's coming from the crown? When you look at babies, you look at the top. I mean, most of us have it. That whirlpool, you think that's a coincidence? If we were to 3D print a human being from the ether, right? It would start in the spiral motion. The atomic atom from where all source has come from. So I love simplifying things for everybody here. So again, that spiral motion that is coming out of your head, that is a receiver, your head, your hair, the antenna, right? And really pay attention to the Rastas when their hair is twisted a certain way. If you look at ancient Buddha statues, their hair was twisted a certain way because they understood the hair is an antenna, right? Or Nagas. Shout out my Nagas. So as the energy comes out of the skull, out of the head, and you place your hand there, so that spiral energy that's coming out of his head, which is information, coming out of his head, and then everyone is placing their hands over it, what's happening? It's being pulled. Remember, all spirals lead upwards. That is the natural law that is. Remember this, all spirals lead upwards. No matter if it's counterclockwise, no matter if it's clockwise, it leads upwards. Now, one is more harmonious than the other. And we dive into that with the scalar movement and breath. And also how certain movements also build up mass. No matter what quote-unquote diet you're on. See, I'm no gatekeeper. And, you know, this topic we're about to tap into in terms of Wakanda, you know, it ties into the aspect of there's certain things you just want to spill out to the world, right? And one of the ways of doing it, you do it in an energetic way, so to speak. You don't just give it up like that. Because when you give it up like that to a certain degree, you know, all truth, you know, as in the great Lao Tzu's mind, he says, you know, one can know telekinesis or aerokinesis, etc., but within the great oneness, all things are seen, all things are understood, right? There is no quote-unquote telekinesis. There is no one or the other, because when you think that way in a tunnel-minded state, you know, it's the same aspect of when I wanted to learn how to create fire, because my mentor, he could literally create fire with his hands and stuff like, ooh, I want to do that. And he's like, what's the point? What's the point of you creating fire and doing this and blasting that? What's the point? What's the point in terms of longevity? And he said, look at people who can do that, or mainly, or just focus on that and not the healing aspect. Look how they age. Be very keen on how they age. And how he describes it is because they're letting off a particular set of direction in terms of their energy, etc., and not being able to balance it when it comes back to the homeostasis aspect. See, it's the same aspect of sitting down too long in meditation. Then you have too much yang build up, and you don't honor what the meditation is truly bringing in the aspect of life is a meditation. That is the big aha moment, and that is why I push for alchemy breathwork practices to be utilized in real time, in real world applications, right? Because life is psychedelic in itself. Life is the whole algorithm. That's all it is. It's a humongous algorithm right in front of your face. Would a fork work? Hey, if you build up the cultivating energy, for sure. For sure. My 5-year-old niece did a quarter years ago. Hey man, why, we do this all when we're young. Why do we stop? Why are you stopping? Imagine doing all these type of practices intuitively, because most of us kids, people who commented were already doing it intuitively. Oh, I didn't know this and that. I'm like, yeah, why did we stop? Hey, embody. Hey, sis. Why did we stop? Right. So I explained what happened in that levitation video. Now we may tap into the real Wakanda, and shout out to the Prince for making this. We may do a live together, because I definitely want to dive really deep into this, and the knowledge of those particular elders harmonize what I've been saying and spewing for a very long time. The fact that they found DNA on meteorite, human DNA on meteorite, makes you wonder. I'm like, are we really truly from this plane or planet Earth that we call home? Are we really truly from here? All that knowledge of astrology, all that knowledge from plant medicine, etc., all that particular knowledge in the aspect of just natural law in general, right? For eons and years till the end of time, if there is really end of time, all those natural factors of law that is within the universe will always be, right? The speed of light will always be the speed of light. And really think about the speed of light before we tap into the real Wakanda. The speed of light, right? Speed of light. If one were to attune themselves to the speed of light, which is actually the Giza pyramids, and not just the Giza pyramids, but there's other pyramids around the world that is attuned and built in that symmetry. How did primitive beings that we call primitive, or cavemen, barbaric, right, that they tend to indoctrinate you with? And also, we also have to acknowledge that within every society, it doesn't matter if it's off the grid, etc., etc., there will always be this is natural law. And this is why I don't really navigate or harmonize with the fact that there are some people that say that, oh, we should be living out in the jungle this way or that way. I mean, nature's all around, right? What about harmonizing where you live right now to the point where you don't have to run away, like they're doing in the real Wakanda over there? Let's tap in. And with that being said, I also want to add on to the aspect of there will always be the privileged and the ones who are not privileged. Always. There will always be some type of balance one way or another, whether that be knowledge, which is a huge thing. And I can go back to ancient times and show you. I'll dive more into that in Scalar Movement. I don't want to do it publicly, because at the same time, I do honor respect to all these different types of religions, to all these different types of ancient wisdom, scriptures, and culture. I respect them. And even in private, when I do it in the Scalar Movement videos, it's coming from the point where I have no filter, but you can tell I'm not demonizing one way or the other. And my main point is to show people how some quote unquote kings and gods, and actually the real Wakanda apparently dethroned some of these gods, which is very interesting. That's why I really want the Prince to hop on here whenever he can, and we'll do a live on that. And I love it. I love how their culture also talks about how we're truly not even from here. And actually where the real Mount Zion really is, or Mount Meru, some people in the Western people call it Mount Meru, or the Tartarian findings. If you really want to know where it is, it's in Africa, and we're gonna dive into this. So I really go into how, again, going back to the kings and the quote unquote gods, how they would actually use their subjects or certain people or certain groups to actually siphon off their electrons as them being the electron donors, and they're technically, in my opinion, the electron stealers. But yeah, when those people were quote unquote donating their energy because they were moving and harmonizing, and you can actually look in certain particular cultures that do this when they're quote unquote offering to a god, or offering, keyword offering, I mean, it's right there, plain in sight. When you dive into ancient texts, no matter how religious you are, you should always be aware of the key words here: offering, sacrifice, etc., 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 etc. You should always be keen of that. And it's there in plain sight. I'm like, especially when I went to Egypt, and particular, if you know anything about Egypt, the beetle, what they tell you to do around the beetle. And you guys know where if you guys been to Egypt, and including the Sufi dance. I'm going to give you some key clues. The beetle and the Sufi dance. Be very keen. Be very aware. No matter how ancient, no matter how religious you are, etc., be very aware when you come into contact with the words sacrifice and other keywords of that nature, offering, etc. Because again, they literally, it's written in the text, it's written in the scriptures, etc., how they easily, and this may have attributed to longer lifespans, who knows, etc. I can go on and on. But to have that many people be electron donors to the quote-unquote God or the king, etc., it's very interesting. And it shows you how in tune these gods or kings, etc., they understood the natural laws of energy and utilizing that. And, these are people, if you couldn't tell, these are people literally in a prison cell doing this, right? And I saw somebody commented saying that even if they're in prison, their minds are still breaking free in a sense. And practices like these in the prisons, that's honestly real reform. That's powerful reform. And hate him or like him or dislike him, shout out Kevin Gates for even pushing breathwork to be in these prison systems and building companies like that, nonprofit companies that do that. I'm not there yet. I'm getting there, etc. We'll see. But actually, shout out Ray Holistic. Shout out Ray Holistic, who actually been to a prison recently and shared some alchemy breathwork. So I'm just honored to just be in the same breath as that type of reform, that type of progression. Thank you all in all that you do. Shout out Gerald as well, based in the plants, for also sharing some alchemy breathwork as well, and to many more who I may not caught wind of, and you're just doing this in real life, etc. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, yeah, let's tap into the real Wakanda. Where is it?
Welcome to part 5, the 24 facts about the 12 seers and the Kikuyu tribe. Now, I'm doing this video series so y'all can get an understanding about the people who's demanding an apology and payment from Disney and Marvel Studios for stealing from the secrets of the temple to create their Black Panther and Wakanda franchise. And also, the deeper point that I want to establish with this video series is that in learning these 24 facts about the 12 seers and the Kikuyu people, we're not learning about some forgotten civilization way off in ancient history that holds no relevance in today's society. No, on the contrary, the 12 seers are one of, if not the most relevant organization on planet Earth if we're talking about Black liberation, and not only Black liberation, but the prophetic ascension of human consciousness globally, because they are the appointed custodians custodians to handle that task. And most importantly, they're alive and living right here today and have been reaching out to help take us to the next level for over a decade. They got our back, and now it's time for us to have their back as well. Fact number 13. Now, we done heard everybody else's theories and opinions about this. White folks, Asians, everybody done put their 2 cents out there in the middle of inflation. Ain't worth a damn. But in 2009, the 12 seers became the first and the only, capital letters, the only African indigenous leaders to reveal how the pyramids were built. And it's nothing short of amazing. Of course, it's connected to the secret mind activation ritual that you wasn't supposed to see in Black Panther, but you saw anyway when you saw T'Challa drinking the purple juice. Y'all can read this full write-up in The Secrets of the Holy Mountain in the chapter called Googie Powers, but I'm gonna skip to the end because I love how he says it right here. He says, the West must first master the working of the brain before they force mechanical concepts of engineering in the construction of Egyptian edifice, known in history as pyramids. He says Egyptian priests who were engineers applied Googie process to transport, lift, and align the very huge blocks of stones during the construction of the pyramids. So he's telling you that they moved it with their minds because they activated their minds. You have to go up earlier in the chapter and see how they used the sacred herbs that you saw in the Black Panther, the purple juice, T'Challa drinking it, to activate their minds, which gave them this wisdom, right? When the 3-day death ritual ceremony, when they was in the world of the ancestors, getting that knowledge and secrets, the divine holy secrets, then they came back with those secrets, and that's how they knew how to move things with their minds, and that's what they did. Boom. So there, no more speculation. You finally heard an African Indigenous Council tell you how we built those pyramids. Just in case you missed it, I said The Secrets of the Holy Mountain. You can download the PDF for free from thegreatinvestigation.com, or you can buy the physical copy. This man on the cover that you see is the Chief Seer's messenger. He's the man who adopted me and appointed me to give you this information. On the part.
All right. Turn on back the commenting. But yeah, what do you guys think? It also correlates with the monks in Tibet, how they would use didgeridoo to levitate certain materials, etc. But I've been saying this for a while, how everything we ingest, anything you call quote unquote food, and not just food in general, they're all technologies. Food is a technology. Things like that type of plant medicine, etc. It's a technology. Plant medicine, it's a technology. The fact that you can't actually synthesize and recreate ayahuasca, and apparently that's the only plant, but apparently that particular plant that he was talking about, I don't know the specific herb, etc., but it might be on the same level or even way higher than ayahuasca, in my opinion, from what I've read. And by the way, this particular place, Mount Kenya, is really Mount Meru or Mount Zion. And it's not actually an opinion. And there actually is some really deep history when it comes from the original Bible. Yeah. And today, as we speak, when they do certain rituals or ceremonies, it's not even in the context of religion. It's not even in the context of certain practices that we all know, in a sense. It's literally a passed down technology. Now, this particular tribe and these seers, you know what they do? They wanted the seer, and they've been doing this since the tribe was even first created. So what they do, these 12 seers, they have one seer sits on top of the mountain. And by the way, this is the same people that hold the Ark of the Covenant. One seer sits on top of the mountain, and he can't leave or do anything in a certain radius for 30 days. And he has to watch the stars, etc. And then any information that he might just get out of the blue, etc., or from the connecting resonance, he sends that information down. And we're actually going to show you the unfortunate backlash that these elders with quote unquote higher powers, etc. I wouldn't say higher powers. I would say people that are just tapped into natural law, and they did not like the fact that the people that made the Black Panther movie did not acknowledge them or even ask to share what they have shared in the movie. And apparently the director, not the actors, but the director, the producers, they knew all about it. And it's very interesting that the director, shout out to Ryan, he said this may be his last Black Panther movie, because I feel like he low-key knows. Apparently Prince, I think, also talked to him as well. So let's tap into another video.
Yo, breaking news, breaking news. The moment black folks been waiting on for centuries has finally arrived. The chief seer of Mount Kenya has officially authorized a public demonstration of the forbidden African magic in order to punish Disney and Marvel Studios for stealing from the temple with their Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever release that's dropping this week. Who would have ever knew that them Jewish folks over there at Disney would have these type of problems? Now, we know Kanye and Kyrie got problems from the Jewish elite, but how ironic. Right in the middle of the Jewish elite behaving like slave masters, publicly lynching and whipping their black slaves, really just to let the rest of us black folks know that, oh, in real life, the Jews got the power. Oh, the irony that right then is when the 12 Kikuyu tribe seers, guardians of the real Ark of the Covenant, the original Kabiru Hebrew scroll of Moses, and the sacred African magic would come now in this time and tell them Jewish people over there at Disney, they said, no, we got the power, and you need to apologize. And if you don't stop using our sacred African rituals in your fake-ass Black Panther movie, we gonna show you our power in real life, and you gonna end up in the newspaper. This shit done got gangster. Now, I need to teach white folks something. Don't piss off nobody who looks like this. If a black man still dressed like this in 2022, leave that nigga the hell alone. You see that hot-ass feather hat on his head with a blanket on in the middle of Africa? He's hot. He's ready to fuck something up. Ain't this the tribe that the FBI said they don't want black Americans behaving like this tribe? The FBI was scared of them. And you Jewish executives at Disney, y'all know something that the FBI don't know? Well, you better know Harry Potter, Cruella de Vil, and King Arthur nigga, because this nigga ain't fucking with y'all. The 12 Kikuyu tribe seers are black people who actually drunk the purple juice in real life in order to guard the Ark of the Covenant, the original scrolls of Moses, and other sacred African artifacts and magic. They literally are 12 black monks who live in a mountain away from everybody and don't mess with nobody. Disney found a way to piss them off by stealing from the temple, and so they responded by telling Disney that they control the positive and negative energies in the higher cosmos. They held council and sentenced Disney to be punished by the chief seer, which they said will result in death. So family, before we go see Black Panther 2, we need to see what's up with this. And just like they made Kyrie apologize.
Yeah. So that was that. And now I'm going to show you something really eerie in terms of dates and connections and unfortunate deaths, after the lawyers have been talking to the representatives of the 12 seers. And it's so interesting and how intricate and how powerful of how they so intricately designed, how powerful from the 12 seers, then it just echoes into layers to just representatives to the point where they're represented in a Pacific college, which is very, very interesting, because there was actually a point in time where they actually wanted the Western scientists to actually put brain scans over them to actually test what was happening when they actually drink the purple, like you saw in the Wakanda movies, like the real purple juice, etc. When they go into the ancestral plane, when they go into the other dimension, what is really happening, to the point where they can actually synthesize something where they don't actually have to take the drink to actually help more people out there, apparently. And when the movie came out, they were pissed to the point where they were like, no, we're not doing this no more. We're going back, and we're not interacting with the West at all until we get an apology from quote unquote Disney, which is very interesting. And by the way, all the stories you've heard about Mount Zion, etc., and we can have Rabbi Harry hop on here too. I might do a podcast with him. But even Rabbi Harry had been publicly saying, in terms of the origins of certain religion, etc., didn't come from the same people you see today. It's very interesting. So it's not tied. And I love the thing about with Rabbi Harry that he shows and shares that we're not tied to one specific race. We're not tied to etc. The energy moves where it needs to go, which is a beautiful thing for specifically Rabbi Harry to get Muslims, Christians, etc. to all come together in one particular space. In Israel, by the way, in the heart of it all, in the Middle East, to get all those different religious people together and do a plant ceremony where, certain emotions are coming out, certain constraints, certain dogma that's been holding people back to just release, etc. in that space. It's beautiful stories like that we don't hear enough of, which is sad. But we need to. We need to touch on those stories and share how those stories are impacting a different side view that the world know one thing to be, but they don't know the rest, right? So let's tap into the eerie connection here.
Here are 6 mysterious birth and death days connecting the Black Panther movie to Mount Kenya, the real Wakanda. Now, this is spiritual evidence that suggests the Kikuyu tribe are owed an apology from Disney for violating their sacred tribal secrets. Now, let's get started. Number 1, August 28th. Now, this one made global headlines already, so we already know that our beloved brother, Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, died on Jack Kirby's birthday. Now, Jack Kirby is the creator of the Black Panther comic book. Now, what you didn't know is that the first article that was published by the press in America about Mount Kenya's ambassador, which is me, was also published on August 28th by the Hip Hop Inquirer. Now, interestingly, Martin Luther King also gave his I Have a Dream speech on August 28th in 1963, and the Black Panther movie was filmed right across the street from his grave site. I mean, directly across the street in Atlanta where he's buried. That's where they shot the basketball scene at. Now, as far as having a dream is concerned, that's important too, because one of the tribal secrets that ended up in the movie was the sleeping ritual, the ritual that uses the extract from the sacred herbs that induces the initiate into a coma, sends them off into the land of the ancestors to get the tribal secrets, just like T'Challa did when he became king and talked to his father. Now, next one, February 6th. This is the royal connection of kings and queens. So Chadwick Boseman died on Jack Kirby's birthday, but even more interesting, Jack Kirby, the king of comics, died on the king of reggae birthday. Bob Marley. Yes, now this gets deep because in 1952, the king of England, who was oppressing the Kikuyu people of Mount Kenya, also died February 6th on Bob Marley's 7th birthday. Now, to make it even more mysterious, his daughter, who was now Queen Elizabeth, was literally in Mount Kenya, the real Wakanda, sleeping in the sacred tree of the Kikuyu at the Treetop Hotel. Now, Bob Marley ironically inspired the musical fire that called for the destruction of Bucket. November 12th. Now, here's where the mysterious or the mystery begins to look more like a divine message from God and his prophets. Now, the Kikuyu Council of Seers expressed a grievance to Disney and Marvel Studios for their secrets being portrayed and commercialized in the Black Panther movie. On March 4th, 2018, I received a phone call from the Chief Seer's messenger because I was literally representing them for 2 years at the time already. Now, on the phone call, they stated that they could handle this one of 2 ways. They said they can either take legal actions or they could go to the Holy Mountain for divine intervention. I suggested that they take legal actions because I didn't want any of our black people to get hurt behind this matter, which I already understood was a very serious matter to the tribal council. And I knew that in the past, people who desecrated Mount Kenya shrines, they just died tragic deaths. So I said, just sue them. But 6 months later, Disney decided to try and intimidate us, and legal discussions ended. Now, that is what caused the Seers to issue a cease and desist letter at the end of October. Then on November 9th, the chief Seers messenger announced on national radio in Kenya that diplomacy by lawyers was no longer an option.
You hear that?
They warned Disney not to produce Black Panther 2.
Yeah, information area jekirete thĩinĩ wa www.amobi.com mathi magathaka thenema nayo thenema ĩgwĩtwo Black Panther na matũrĩtie magĩthiĩ gũthaka Black Panther 2 magakorwo nĩ tũrĩzĩte kĩrĩa.
And they warned Disney not to produce Black Panther 2. Now, ironically, exactly 3 days later, Stan Lee was dead as a doornail on November 12th. Yes, making him the second Hollywood A-lister to die after being accused of desecrating a Mount Kenya shrine. And would you believe that both those Hollywood stars who violated Mount Kenya died on the same exact day, November 12th. Now, the first Hollywood star was named William Holden. He owned the Mount Kenya Safari Club Hotel, which was built on a shrine in Mount Kenya against the will of the Gikuyu elders. And then he went on to attract Hollywood stars and wealthy people from all over the world, before he eventually died November 12th, 1981. Now for number 4. December 28th. Now, Stan Lee was born on December 28th in 1922. Ironically, that's the day that I first landed in Kenya during the trip that led to me being invited to accept the role of ambassador for Mount Kenya. Now, I landed in the country on December 28th in 2015. And that was Stan Lee's 95th birthday. I stayed for 7 weeks and I went through a bunch of challenges, but experienced a huge spiritual growth, which some of y'all seen who've been following my social media for a while. So y'all know that this was way before the Black Panther movie came out, and I've been going hard for Mount Kenya ever since, you know what I'm saying? And in fact, I'm the only man on the planet Earth that got a video on YouTube teaching people about the meteorite that crashed into Africa, or the sacred herbs that are used to activate the mind of the seers in Mount Kenya, and other things, years before the Black Panther movie came out. Now, number 5. Number 5 is like a 2-for-1. Heinrich Himmler, evil ass Heinrich Himmler. He was just a crazy ass Nazi leader with Adolf Hitler. He was obsessed with esoteric information from the indigenous people. And so basically he just wanted to know the secrets of the ancient world. He is one of the prime suspects in our investigation of how the Gikuyu secrets leaked in the first place to the U.S. government. Anyway, if God is using these birthday connections to point us in the direction of the real Wakanda, then this guy, Heinrich Himmler, is definitely a prime suspect in the violation, because both his birthday and death day are incriminating. First, let's look at his birthday. He was born October 7th, 1900. Now, October 7th, 2019 is the date that the lawyers at the U.S. Copyright Office made the decision to give a copyright certificate to Mount Kenya College of Seers for having the source material to Wakanda, Black Panther, and Vibranium that's used in the Marvel comics and movies. Wow, now, talk about divine timing. If that isn't enough, he ended up dying on May 23rd, 1945. But guess what? May 23rd, 1986, a star was born by the name of Ryan Coogler, the genius director behind the global box office Black Panther smash. That's very important to me. And as well, that date is very important to me, but I'll give that in a different video. Now, last but definitely not the least, this is probably my favorite. Number 6, let's go to the birthday of the Black Panther movie itself. Now, they say that God works in mysterious ways. And after this one, even if you don't believe in God, I'm sure that you'll agree something mysterious is going on here. February 16th. Now, of course, we all know that this is the day the Black Panther movie made its box office debut and began shattering records left and right. And as a side note, Nipsey Hussle also released his album Victory Lap on this day as well. And I might need to do another video to show you how that connects to Mount Kenya. But anyway, what you might not have known is that the real animal, which we call a Black Panther, That animal is
Rare.
very shy in Africa. In other
Rare.
words, unlike in Asia, like where they see Black Panthers all the time, it's not common to find a Black Panther in Africa.
Nope.
Especially not on camera. Now, in fact, the last time a high quality picture of the African Black Panther was captured was in 1909. This is when the Black Panther was seen in Ethiopia. However, on February 16th, the day the Black Panther movie was released to theaters, 2018, the same exact day the superhero came to the big screen, people, scientists began capturing a real African Black Panther in Africa, which led to the first high-quality photos of that Black Panther in about 100 years. If y'all remember last year, those pictures went viral and they made global headlines on CNN and Fox and everything. Now, where was this mythical animal located? What African country? None other than the same territory of the Gikuyu tribe, Mount Kenya, people. Yes, this is the tribe who was issued the copyright for having the source material of the Black Panther and Wakanda and Vibranium by the U.S. copyright, like we just mentioned. Mount Kenya, the sacred African mountain, which was formed by the meteorite crashing into Africa millions of years ago. That's where the real African Black Panther decided to make its debut the same day that the movie was making it. Like, you can't get more perfect than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just can't do it. So tell me what y'all think, people. That's it. Tell me what y'all think about these connections in the comments. And if you learned something from this video, please share it so that someone else can learn something as well. Now, tell me this as well. Do you think these connections are just coincidental? Or do you think God lined these things up this way so that the public can know for sure that the Ajiru clan of the Gikuyu tribe...
Very interesting. Very interesting connections there. Somebody else wanted to go live. No, I'm about to call it a night. Esoteric knowledge. It's just life, bro. I mean, yeah. Life is a meditation, right? Be free. I'm just reading some of the comments here. The Matrix is insane, isn't it? Someone... Yeah, leave that man alone if you see him dressed like that. Leave that man alone. In the middle of hot degrees, in hot weather in Africa, and he's dressed like that. Yeah, you know. It's funny, actually, when you go to certain tribes, you'll see levitation like it's a natural thing. It's not, specifically in Africa, too. It's not woo-woo or I don't believe it, etc. No, these are stories that's always passed down to generation, no matter how modern the family may look to you on the outside. But grandpas, the older generations, they're still passing down those stories. And it's not just stories. Some of these tribes, there's tons of videos out there on YouTube. You see certain rituals where they're dancing, keyword dancing. They're dancing around the fire, and then you see them levitate, etc. Do you see that type of behavior anywhere else out there in the world, in colder areas? Not really. It's very rare to see that type of behavior, or in that regard, in that sense. Yes, you can use it while you are pregnant. And you really don't even need to do it on the stomach, mainly the hands. If you're talking about the projector, listen, you have all the meridians on your hands in terms of the organs. So if you're somebody that may be too intimidated by the electricity, just mainly blast your hands and you'll feel what's happening to the rest of your body. I would say blast in your left hand. Remember, we talked about the left hand being the receiver, right hand being the projector, right? And someone talked about this. They're all just gathering around to take drugs. I mean, think about it like this: every time you eat around people, etc., what are you doing? You're not just eating a particular food. You're eating their emotions. You're eating, etc., etc. It's not, like I said. Also, everything is technically a drug. If it has any chemical reactive state to your body, what do you call that? It's a drug. Some people are numb to certain drugs, some people are not. And they also found that the more you increase, the new studies, the more you increase your body fat, there's less brain activity. So the bigger the better in terms of weight? I don't think so. I think it's the more efficient and the more muscle, keyword muscle, not fat really, but more muscle is way more important than the weight aspect. And in scalar movement and breath, we actually talk about atomic movement and how that actually builds up mass. No matter what diet you are on, you're building up healthy mass, and that's another key thing, right? So if you're somebody that is scared of losing weight, etc., and go check out what we did with the Brea barbell experiment. This is a guy that helps people with neurological disorders on a daily basis and helps people in terms of their recovery, in terms of movement, etc. Look it up, Brea barbell breatharian experiment. And from his own words, him and his clients and his colleagues were flabbergasted because he was eating less and less and less, but still gaining in mass way more than ever, and still even doing his regular workout routines. I was just on top of him literally every day and just sharing what I knew. And I think scalar movement is great for people out there that have a hard time balancing their weight in general. I feel like scalar movement and breath is great. And particular exercise you can add into anything you do, whether that be kung fu, qigong, etc. Any type of meditative exercise or movement or just workout in general, scalar movement, adding that to your routine is a powerful addition. I promise you. It'll blow your mind. And there's also natural, factual evidence that I talk about in that journey in particular. We're on week number 2, all spirals lead up. I just explained how that levitation video with the prisoners, how they got to lift him up on the second try, why he was lighter. Because again, the spiral energy that's coming from your hands is harmonizing with the spiral energy coming from all of us on top. There's a reason why, you look at babies in particular, you see that spiral there. You think that's a coincidence. No. That spiral, that Fibonacci measurement is within, you cut off a tree bark, it's right there. You go down to the smallest molecular atom, it is there. It's there. It's actually an ancient practice with the swastika. The real reason why the swastika was made, for utilizing it as an ancient practice in terms of tool to see the molecular structure of how certain things are moving. And when you focus on that the certain center point of the swastika and doing what you're supposed to do with it, I don't think it's my place to talk about it, but when you do the activity that you're supposed to do with it, after at least 3 years of practice, consistent, you start to see things, and you can find center points in random places or people, and that's where you're harmonizing with the void. You're harmonizing with the source, the spatial point that is within all things and all matter, and that's the spiral energy. Exactly. Also, they say that the Ark of the Covenant, they want to bring it out to a particular spot And when they turn it on, they want all the weapons of the world to just cease in terms of, apparently they say it's not going to work. Very interesting. So I want to hear that part of the story if we do bring Prince on. But all the other things, I mean, these are actually stuff you can actually look up as well. Actually, the Disney lawyers have been talking to the representatives, which is it's very interesting. But they are watching. They are definitely watching, and you know the age of, because Disney's known to do this, where they go to different religion or different cultures, take a piece of it, place it in their movies, etc., warp it to different ways and maneuver in terms of what they feed the masses. And I could sympathize. I can sympathize with that particular tribe in Mount Kenya. I could definitely feel maybe they felt like they got robbed in a sense, you know? So I definitely understand where they're coming from. And the repercussions apparently is it's starting to unfold in so many different ways. Even the director himself, Ryan, you know, I watched an interview with Good Morning America, and they asked him, like, oh, when Chadwick died, you know, we all heard that you were done with directing. You know, this may be the last one. And he goes, if I can be honest right now, then yeah, it was like that. And who knows, this actually may be the last Black Panther movie. And if you didn't hear as well, I don't think I have the video, but it's maybe I do. Let's see. No, I don't think I have it. Yeah, I don't think I have it. But Ryan recently, I think it was a couple months ago, he actually got arrested. He was taking out some dollar bills, and then all of a sudden, the cops came into the bank and literally arrested him because they thought he was robbing the bank type of thing. And that normally doesn't happen. He said, yeah, all this time, all I've been doing is writing the amount that I wanted, gave it to the bank lady, and for some reason in her mind, she called the cops. And apparently that date correlates with I think it was the first Black Panther issue date of the comic. So maybe, or synchronistically, you know, one of the factors of pissing off the 12 elders in Mount Kenya is starting to ripple in that regard, right? In terms of Ryan and what he's going through. So it's very interesting in terms of if you mix the date, and maybe Prince will explain it more, but it's very, very interesting. The date that Ryan got arrested and the cops came, etc., came back is very, very interesting. And the date, how it correlates with the first Black Panther issue date of the comic, it just correlates. You can't make all those ties of the dates. You just can't make it up. It's so interesting how we need to be reminded that the natural laws are there, and if you adhere to them, they play out in so many different ripples and manifestations, if you will. And that's all it is, harmonizing back with natural law. And some people may need harsh reminders, that's all. All right, any more questions, guys? Yeah, Ambassador Prince Michael, check him out. We may do a live with him very, very soon. Here, let me pin it. There we go. That's his Instagram. Tap in, guys. Okay. Any more questions? Someone goes, the only way to levitate is boof changa? No. There's actually in Thailand, there's actually a force out there that it's so potent and wild what they do. When they're on video, they have to like blur out their face. But there's a force in Thailand, I forgot what it's called, but you can literally see them breaking metal with their minds, moving metal with their minds, sending a propulsion, and watch the way they breathe. You see the propulsion from their hands and how it blasts and breaks certain things in half, etc. Right? And again, it always dials down to the power, because you can tell by the force and the way they breathe, is it sustainable? Sure, it may give you XYZ, and that particular force is a secret force that kept the royalty in Thailand, quote unquote, safe for a very long time. All right, some question. Did we already talk about the guy in the chair being lifted? Yes, we did. I'm going to repost this, so no worries, so you guys can go back and tap in. Yeah, that's another way, unlocking your heart chakra with the Sidus. I don't know if there's videos out there of them doing it, but they're known to do it. Will scalar technology help with the healing DNA after someone has taken the J? I can't say the whole word out there, but yes. There's actually particular presets in there. Depending on... Honestly, I would do the 7-day experience. I'm actually going to take down the scalar session, because the 7-day experience, taking a picture of the food or just you and your environment on a 7-day basis consistently, I find is giving people way more profound experience than just the scalar video sessions. So I'm honestly going to take that down and just focus on the 7-day experience, because that 7-day experience really gives you a really feel and an aha moment in terms of the subtleties, the energies around you in a subtle way, and harmonizing and help to restructure in 7 days nonstop. You take a picture of the food you eat, what you're drinking, your environment, in your car, etc., your family members, on a 7-day basis, nonstop, unlimited photos you send to us, and we print it out on the scalar and blast harmonious frequencies and structure to where you are in terms of the scalar environment. And we prove that. If you're new to my page, we prove that with farms already. Go check out the seed testimonial with the scalar. And we actually have some cannabis farms out there. Very interesting. Man, these farmers, like, you show one thing to one farmer. And think about it like this. Mind you, farmers spend millions on pesticides and so many things to get rid of certain things, etc. But if you can introduce something like scalar, you know how much money they save? That I'm learning. I didn't know about this, but I'm finally like learning as I'm working with these farmers. They're saving millions. Really think about that. So if you have any connections to farms, or any micro green growers, etc., that may really need to tap into this, I have an affiliate program on my page. Or if you don't care about that, just send them my way. But if you would like to get paid for just sharing information, etc., and the testimonials, you go on my homepage, you scroll all the way down, and it's the Breath Partnership. So tap in, because some people have been on that wave already and going to different businesses around their communities. And if you're a school, etc., holler at me. I would love to share and just put, because with schools it's a little bit tough, especially when you're that one teacher that's the black sheep, if you will, outside of the other sheeps. And you understand that placing a 5G tower in the middle of your football field, and you can see the correlation of that 5G tower. Hopefully this teacher will say yes to coming live here. But you can see the correlation in 6 years, how that cell phone tower affected more mental issues with the nursing office, etc., etc., etc. Like, these are real world things that I'm hearing from spaces like that. So if you can have a piece of technology that has a 12-mile radius or more, depending if you get the home one. But help negate that, running things like EMF, detox, etc. Why not? Why not? Because the technologies that are broadcasted in the mainstream is not the same technologies of ancient times that harmonize with your human being, that harmonize with this human vessel, and allowed you to, quote unquote, thrive more versus being deprived. And there's a reason, and really think about this. Anytime you see your phone, going back to the energy in the hands, anytime you see your phone close to 10% or lower than 10%, you notice it gets hot. Do you notice that? What's happening? Well, the phone is seeking energy. That's the reason why it gets hot. It's seeking all that energy, and it's just building, seeking energy from elsewhere. And you'll notice, if you are energy sensitive, you'll feel the pulse from your hand going into the phone. What do you think it's doing? It's siphoning off your energy when you're physically holding the phone. That's why you place tensor rings on the back of your phone. Definitely check out the tensor page, the tensor collection, or if you want to get it from somebody else, go ahead. But we scalar infuse ours, so we take a picture of the tensor ring to amplify its resonance. And we want to do a test too, where we have a normal tensor ring that hasn't been scalified and one tensor ring that has, and see which plant will grow faster or longer. But I want to do it in a space that's not my space. So if you're somebody out there that would be open to doing this, let me know. And somebody that's already into the tensor game and would love to test it out, let me know. I used to use a machine sort of like and I was sick and I healed. Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing that. Glade said, I used to use a machine sort of like the scalar technology, and I was using it for over 7 years, and I was sick and then I healed. Thank you for sharing that. Do I know about human design? I sure do. I don't harmonize with it too much. One thing when it comes to knowledge in general, take what's useful, discard the rest. You have every right to feel every emotion you feel. You have every right to feel and think the way you feel. And that's your human right? So when you're in tune with what you feel, and the information is knowledge, but what you can use at that moment in time, that's also depending on your library in terms of perception, awareness, etc., and what you can, quote unquote, download and use, all depending on you, right? So take what's useful, discard the rest, as the great Bruce Lee would also say as well, and focus on that. Focus on growth, focus on expanding, focus on progression. And one thing I want to leave off with saying that when you're breathing more at the right nostril after 12 p.m., you are harmonizing with lunar current. And solar current is more with the left nostril after 6 a.m. And now you're learning to harmonize and breathe with with the planetary stars and the planetary bodies. And it's kind of like you're using your breath to somewhat push these planetary bodies or harmonize with the force or the current that is moving these bodies. So the sun is the left nostril, the moon is the right nostril. And in certain Ayurvedas, they say the right is to build up heat, right? Left is to help you cool down. Well, think about it like this. The sun is rising, heat starts to rise. So don't you want to focus on cooling down? The moon is coming up or night is coming up. Don't you want to focus on heating up a little bit? And that's a quick little tip I want to share to help boost your circadian rhythm and harmonize with your circadian rhythm. If you're somebody that is fighting And you want to get to the point where you can rise with the sun, and you can or focus on catching the sunset, whatever the case may be. Breathing in that matter and focusing on those points in time will help you or push you to get to that point as well, and will help you with your circadian rhythm and help rebalance you, especially if you're someone that travels a lot. This is one of my go-tos for people that travel a lot and always find themselves in jet lag, especially being on that plane. No matter if you fly private, you're still being blasted with EMF radiation whenever you're in the air like that. So tap into, we're going to do a live talking about clothing and why that's so important. Why I came out with the EMF kimono, where you can actually plug into the ground as well and ground yourself and utilize the earth elements, focusing on clothing that heals. That's super important. All right, guys, thank you all for sharing the breath. If you found value in this, share it. Peace and harmony.